Good morning and welcome to a morning outlook on Wednesday the 8th of June. So let's have a look at these markets. Before we actually look at the markets themselves, as ever, I like to have a look at what the risk events are likely, or what risk events we got lined up for today. And it's Wednesday the 8th of June, and there's a big fat zero according to Forex Factory. Of course, we're leading into tomorrow's ECB press conference. Press conference statement coming out there at 12:45. On that basis, often with the euro, we see it quieten down a little bit. So there is always this risk that it could go one way or the other really quickly, as the volumes and more so the volumes just get lighter, and it just makes it a little bit more volatile in some respects, so you've got to be treading carefully on that. Now, just looking at other things that might come out here, but the Eurozone GDP revised, etc. Well, the data as the individual countries is in, so it's not really, although it's marked on red here, it's not that significant. Got a couple of, a speaker there, Bank of England Sweeney, watch out for that, 11 then. Not a great deal else, or crude oil inventories this afternoon. So there are a few things coming out there. Right, let's get on and look at the technicals, starting off with Forex as ever. And really looking at this euro, it slipped out of its trend. It was trying to move back in yesterday, doing its best in the end to push back up there. It's hardly strong, and today coming off a bit. But there we are. It's if you can see what's really going on there is a bit of a wedge building here, and in a sense the route it would be the best placed, in a sense, in terms of the moves that have come up, is to the upside. If it just rolls to the downside, well, has got targets down the downside. Yes, it might just spike down to one of these, but and find some support, and off it goes. But we'll see how this develops. But I say realistically, but in theory, you've had this movement. It should push to the upside now. I'm not expecting any positive surprises, but you never know. Tomorrow we might have a positive surprise that will surprise the markets completely. Looking at the pound, you've got this daily bullish engulfing bar. Break of the highs of that should technically see it pushing up further. Bit of a mess though. I was just looking at the whole shape of things. In fact, I've got that it was in a bit of a wedge which got broken to the downside. If you're waiting for just the upside of an upside move, you're never going to get stopped on these downside moves. That's not saying you should never be on the downside of them, but it's safer just to play in trend, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It could well set at some point to the upside. I'm not convinced one way or the other with the dollar at the moment. It's just all gone a bit dull. What we probably need is some more speakers, a bit more rhetoric. But the dollar increases, 0.5% increases, is pretty big priced into the market. So we're in this sort of point of everyone's looking at every other currency, it seems. Dollar yen, well, yen continues to lose ground against the dollar here. Dollar continue pushing up against the yen, and the high lows, high highs. I was looking for this yesterday to see if there was anything really, and well, it came off a bit there towards the end of the day at 3 o'clock, and well, it's a bit too late for me to be jumping back aboard, but it's gone without me yet again. So that's the yen. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar continues overall looks sort of like it's got more upside in it, but again it's made a mess this week. A real ugly sort of bit of price action going on, and quite a mess. I'm trying to make head or tail of this. Well, I can't really. It's let's leave that alone. So, and that's the best way to treat the markets. If you can't see what they're doing, don't try and do anything with them. Now the Canadian dollar has been quite well behaved in terms of its price action, coming down, continuing down yesterday. Big bearish engulfing bar there yesterday. Certainly looking like it's possibly got more downside. Getting a little bounce at the moment, but some of these retracements are great to be, or most of these retracements are great to be selling into. It's more of a trending currency. It's where we should be looking. Alternatives, one of the trades and the markets I like to look at is this EuroCAD. It gives us opportunities all of the time, and it's moving in a much nicer trend. I think really the lesson from this morning, I'm looking at a lot of these traditional pairs that I trade, like the pound, the euro itself. Look at some of these, the Aussie, and just look at the mess they're in. Why do we hang in there when there's currencies that have got trends running through them? Anyway, just there's a question for today to start with. Right, moving on. So there's the major currencies. Let's have a quick look at gold and oil. Gold first, he says, and this is another one of those that you just sort of look at it on this daily picture and just scratch my head and think, I'm best out just being in the audience here watching it. Can I work out? Yes, it sold off beginning of the week. Yesterday it started picking back up again. It doesn't really know where it wants to go, and it's just this sort of consolidated phase. Best left, unless you're a day trader and you're looking for a bit of action, and it's certainly got some action. It could easily take your money away as well as give it to you. Oil. This is one I sat there patiently yesterday, and it just wasn't going to happen for me. It eventually came back and hit its weekly pivot and then bounced, but it was beyond school run days and every other day timing, rather, I should say. But look at it as a whole at the moment. It looks ugly, and I'm just sort of it's gone quite flat overall. Now, of course, it could break out of here at some stage, but again, I'm just leaving that for now. So there's the commodities. Let's move on and look at the other markets. We'll start off with crypto then. Doesn't look anything bright here this morning either. Yesterday, real choppy old market, sold off, retraced, and then this morning sold back off again. Still sitting in that sort of really ugly zone. And again, as I said with the currencies, if you can't see anything that's nice and clean, leave it alone. So what we're doing with these, we should be leaving them alone. There's a couple Cardano's trying again. We tried at the end of the last month to push up, trying again. It's outperforming a little bit, but so was Binance at one stage, and it's just rolled back again. So for the moon, as I like to call it, it's gone completely flat. This was an absolute darling at one stage, and I'm looking at this. I'm actually looking on a daily bars. Yep. There we are. So if you're a buyer, which I would rather be the buyer than the seller, maybe the seller, I should be a seller and just keep on selling these off, but realistically they could be grounding at a bottom, and I'm at some stage thinking there could be some value in, so I'm waiting as a buyer patiently. It seems months of being patient, but that's where you have to be. Indices. So continuing to shove up for the CSI 300 here, still pushing up, higher lows coming through, and as I say, looking quite bullish. And the Nikkei again just continue to the upside at the moment, and we're seeing this through the Asian markets. It's Nifty 50 just holding, firing back a little bit, not getting up there. I just noticed that yesterday it ended up selling off and staying, just really filled its previous gap. This morning, well, it's perhaps got some further upside there, but does look a bit on the softer side. Talking of which, consolidated phase again. I talk about the US markets, the Forex markets even, and you've got the same situation going on here. When you start coming down the time frames, it's quite ugly. Yes, we could do some range trading, and there's some potential for some range trading from the intraday basis, and there's some decent ranges to be going for. So there are, if you start seeing it on the shorter time frames here, yep, it's great. But if you're a sort of end of day trader, a swing trader, well, this isn't the time to be swinging, sister. The Dow Jones, again, consolidation. Now all of these moves, like the S&Ps here, the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq, all consolidating pretty similarly in an upward movement. Well, they're holding around the highs of the current movement, so it could suggest that we're going to see another shove up there. Of course, unless we see some real hawkish rhetoric coming out from the US, even more hawkish than it's been, then it might shed it off. Or more likely, I say more likely, but more importantly now, it would be if we start seeing some poor numbers coming through on the fundamental side of things. CAC is the same, pretty much. The French markets there consolidated. Then the DAX seems to have it a little bit more. It's sort of angling upwards and maybe more positive sitting there. FTSE just struggling at the moment, but it is hanging around there. And I think any sort of particularly potential good news could see this shoving into the all-time highs. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. I'll just look at the US $10 10-year yields here. This generally is a period normally where you're seeing a stronger dollar, but as the yields are getting higher, the dollar's getting stronger, but not so much at the moment. More consolidation, I would suggest. Anyway, we'll see what comes of this. Right, I'll leave that there. But of course, there was I did give you a little thought for the day yesterday. Here's another one. I really like this, and this isn't the best of roads. But difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. In other words, particularly in training, you might find it really awkward at times. You might go through those periods where it just doesn't seem like you're going to go anywhere, but you get to a destination and suddenly everything looks rosy. Anyway, on that note, have a great day. I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now. Morning, Michael.